Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another Nikke video, and today we're going to be looking at two units. So, we got 8 here. I think that's probably, it looks like that's how you pronounce it, right? One thing that you should already look at that's a positive is that her cooldown is 20 seconds instead of 40, which is pretty much a nice indicator of at least someone who's useful. So, she stacks. I'm assuming it stacks because there are two separate skills. So in total you get 2 debuff protections for all allies. 420 rounds, which is the funny number. That's gonna be kind of hard to do. I don't like. They're not really. She's not getting any like reload speed buffs or anything. So that's where you have to get some overload for that. But even then, like we shouldn't be looking at anything in terms of overload to help a unit. It should already be here. So already 420 normal attacks. That's gonna happen maybe over the course of the battle, perhaps. 120 is much more possible. Her HP is probably gonna be okay since she's a supporter. The part where when your own HP falls below 90% and you get a small attack increase, it's not going to be that great. Since she's a supporter, her attack won't be very good. And that's the same thing for her burst skill there, which really isn't even amazing. It's just a max HP buff, which is just okay. And then an attack buff, which is not going to be great. Like I said, she's a support unit. So overall, I don't think she's really that great. I don't think she's necessary to pull for. I mean, you can pretty much determine that right away when the things that she's really offering really aren't worth it in the overall. You can just take the debuff. It's fine. The person you have in spot of the person who's making it so you gain the debuff. Now, let's try to make her better. Instead of just dousing the rain on this character, which maybe people may like. Let's say, for example, this perfect Maid buff thing here allows you to cleanse one debuff and then provide a debuff immunity afterwards. So it cleanses the debuff, at least one, up to 1 debuff, and then you gain the debuff immunity. That would be a lot better. That would already make her a lot more valuable. Because the problem with this is, what if you already have a debuff and then you get the debuff immunity? Now it doesn't matter unless in this game, for some reason, if the debuff immunity cleanses the debuff, I don't know. I'm assuming that's not how that works, though. So, I think she's just okay, but definitely not a must-have. I would go like 6.5, just because she's probably on the lower end. The things that she's really offering aren't really that amazing to me. It's just I wouldn't really find a way to put her on a team. She would probably be like in the B, like the C or D team when it comes to doing, you know, things where you need a lot of stuff like raids or something. All right, so 6.548, and then Privaty. This is a new unit. This is not a costume, obviously. She's a burst 3 attacker, so we already kind of know how. If you've been following my channel, you kind of already know how I feel about that. Burst 3s are literally, time and time again, I'm going to keep saying this because there are maybe some new people following my channel. Burst 3s are the hardest to replace because you're investing the most into them because they're your main priority of DPS. So if you already have a Burst 3 DPS and you're fine with them already, like Red Hood or Modernia or someone else, like the new Scarlet, Burst 3, it just doesn't seem as appealing, and that's going to be kind of the problem going forward. These Burst 3 attackers are going to be a lot less appealing because you're already invested so much into your Burst 3 that you're relying on damage that you don't really want to look at any others. So, with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and look over the character. Already, 40 seconds on that burst is already kind of a yikes, considering the fact that her effect is really, there's one part in it that really isn't that good. The rest seems decent, but so it really feels like she's meant for the, what is it called, Gravedigger. It really feels like she's built for that because of her first effect there, or affects 2 enemy units nearest the crosshair, and you deal amount of damage there. So it really feels like she's pretty much meant for that because shotgun users are really good in that fight. Activates when 5 or more pellets hit with a single normal attack. You get a reload speed, which is good. That is good because you're not going to have very many things in your ammo capacity is 9, as you can see there. So having a reload speed is pretty good. On top of all that overload gear, but we're not talking about that, right? Later on, you'll worry about that. And then when you hit 30 times using the pellets during a full burst, you affect yourself. You reload 1 round, which is decent, I guess. And then you get an attack buff, and you stack that attack buff, which is decent. And then your burst, you get an attack buff. Here's the part where it's not as impact. Now you might see, if you're a new player and you are drawn to this game because of Privaty here, you might see that critical damage like, wow, 88% at level 10, by the way. 88%, that seems pretty high. However, unfortunately, from whatever spaghetti code they programmed for this game, critical damage and critical rate, or whatever you want to call it, the critical, anything in terms of critical, is pretty much on the lower end of what you should be worrying about. The biggest draw to this game, in terms of meta, in terms of use, is cooldown reduction, and also other things like an attack buff. So the 2 least things that are useful in this game is, number 1, well, they're not, this is not in order, by the way, I'm just listing the weakest mechanics, is critical damage, or critical whatever, and also defense buffs. Unless that defense buff is really high, and the reason because most times in arena especially, you're going to be fighting someone who may have more attack than your defense, and the same could go for story mode or the tower or any of those events. So critical damage, it seems good at first glance, but it actually is not really that great. So the only saving grace there is that it affects all enemies, and you deal a pretty decent amount of % damage to as the final attack is damage. So it's okay, but I don't know, guys. Like, it just doesn't. She doesn't seem amazing for pretty much anything besides maybe Gravedigger. For PvP, she is a shotgun user, so shotgun users are pretty meta in arena. I think that she would be pretty good in arena, especially since you can have reload speed. And since you have reload speed and you're shooting more often, you're going to be able to get that charge bar up faster to use your bursts. That's already a plus. Plus the reload 1 round is pretty good as well. I don't know if you're going to be hitting 30 times during an arena match though. Maybe if it's like maybe if you're fighting someone who's like a stall, and there are lots of those, you're fighting someone who's stalling, maybe you'll be able to pull that off, maybe. And since you affect all enemies with your burst, I feel like she would be okay in PvP. I don't think she's going to be the best of all time, but I think you can make her work in PvP. But if you're not invested in PvP, then you probably don't care about that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and give her a 7 out of 10. She's getting a lower score because she's another burst 3 attacker. Shotgun, some people don't like that, some people do like that. I'm actually starting to warm up to shotgun users a little bit, because they are useful in some situations. And normally, now I would actually probably do some pulls at the end, but I don't want to pull for, well, one of them is not in the game yet, but I just felt like reviewing them both since both of their stuff are revealed. I'm just gonna save for the next banners that might be coming out, because this is just a small rumor. It's not confirmed or anything, but there might be another collaboration later in the year, or during the first portion of the year or something. There might be a collab coming. That's not confirmed. Don't put a gun to my head and say, hey, what happened to that collab you mentioned? It's only a rumor. But if it turns out to be true, that's pretty cool. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys very much for watching. Appreciate you. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about these units. This is just my opinion, but I'd like to see yours. See ya in the comments. Peace.